Your parents left nothing. You're worthless orphans now. Get out of my house. Uncle Gerald's voice was ice as he stood in the doorway of what used to be our home. Rain poured down behind him, turning the driveway into a river. I was 12 years old, holding my 8-year-old sister Zara's hand so tight I could feel her bones. We had one suitcase between us, clothes Gerald's wife Francine had thrown together while muttering about charity cases and burdens. But this is our house, I whispered. Mom and Dad. Your parents died drowning in debt. Gerald's lip curled. I'm selling everything to pay creditors. Be grateful I'm not charging you for the week you've been here eating my food. Zara started crying. I pulled her closer. Where are we supposed to go? My voice cracked. That's not my problem. Social services will find you somewhere eventually. Or you can figure it out yourselves. He stepped back. Goodbye, Rowan. Goodbye, Zara. The door slammed. We stood there in the rain, two children who'd just buried their parents 3 days ago, watching water cascade off the roof of the home where we'd been born. Where Mom had taught us to bake cookies. Where Dad had read us bedtime stories. I was 12. I didn't know about wills or estates or trust funds. I didn't know that our parents had been millionaires. I didn't know that Gerald was lying. All I knew was that we were alone. What he didn't know, what he couldn't possibly know as he closed that door, was that our parents had left us $50 million. And 15 years later, we were coming back to claim every penny. Hey friend, before we continue, please subscribe. It's free and helps others find these stories of justice. 15 years ago, we thought we'd lost everything. Our parents. Our home. Our future. But we were wrong. We hadn't lost everything, someone had stolen it. 2 weeks before Gerald threw us out, we'd been a normal family. Mom and Dad owned Hartley Tech Solutions, a software company they'd built from nothing. We lived in a beautiful house in Westchester with a pool and a tree fort Dad had built himself. I was in 7th grade. Zara was in 3rd. Our biggest problems were math homework and whose turn it was to feed our dog Biscuit. Then Mom and Dad flew to Seattle for a business conference. Their plane went down over the Rockies. No survivors. I remember the police officer at our door. The way her voice got soft when she said, accident. The way the world tilted sideways and never straightened out again. Gerald arrived at the funeral wearing an expensive suit and an expression of concern that I now recognize as calculated. He was Mom's older brother, someone we saw maybe twice a year at holidays. He worked in finance, something vague that Mom said meant he was good at making money but not at keeping it. Poor children, he said, hugging us at the reception. His cologne was overwhelming. Don't worry. Uncle Gerald will take care of everything. 2 days later, a lawyer came to the house. Not our parents' lawyer, Gerald's lawyer, though I didn't know that then. His name was Bernard Whitmore, and he had cold eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. I'm here to read the will, Whitmore said, spreading papers across our dining room table. Gerald sat at the head, Dad's seat. Francine perched beside him, already wearing Mom's jewelry. I noticed but didn't understand. Their 3 children, Slade, Petra, and Cleo, lounged on our couch like they owned it. This is difficult, Whitmore began, but I'm afraid Mitchell and Caroline Hartley died with substantial debts. The company was failing. They'd taken out loans against the house, borrowed from friends. The estate is underwater by approximately $3 million. I didn't understand what that meant. But I understood the way Gerald's mouth twisted into something almost like satisfaction. 3 million, he repeated. Caroline always was irresponsible with money. That's not true, I said. My voice sounded small. Dad said the company was doing really well. He just hired 10 new people. Children don't understand business, Whitmore said dismissively. Mr. Hartley, as the deceased's only adult relative, you're within your rights to assume control of the estate and attempt to settle the debts. Of course. Gerald nodded gravely. It's my duty to my sister's memory. Though I'm afraid that means selling the house, the company, everything. And as for the children. He looked at us like we were particularly troublesome furniture. I suppose they can stay here temporarily while arrangements are made. Arrangements? I asked. Foster care, most likely. Unless someone wants to adopt 12 and 8-year-olds, which? He shrugged. We'll do what we can. Zara burst into tears. I held her, my own throat tight. Can't we stay with you? I asked. You're our uncle. Your family. Francine laughed, actually laughed. Darling, we have 3 children of our own. We can't take on 2 more, especially not when there's no money to support them. Your parents should have planned better, Gerald said. This is their failure, not mine. But I'll try to help. You can stay a week while I arrange things. That week was the worst of my life, worse even than the funeral. Gerald immediately moved his family into our house. Slade, who was 14, took my bedroom. You're leaving anyway, he said, throwing my stuff into boxes. Why do you need it? Petra, 16, went through Mom's closet taking whatever she wanted. It's not like she needs it anymore. 10-year-old Cleo wasn't as cruel, but she didn't stand up for us either. None of them did. Francine treated us like servants. Since you're eating our food and using our electricity, you can help out. She gave us chores, cleaning bathrooms, doing dishes, folding laundry for a family that wasn't ours. Gerald was worse. He'd find us and deliver little cruelties. Your father was a failure, you know. Terrible businessman. Caroline married beneath her, and look where it got her. Or you remind me of your mother, weak, impractical, living in fantasy land. Or to Zara, stop crying all the time. Nobody wants a whiny child. I tried to shield her. I did Zara's chores when she was too sad to move. I let her sleep in my bed when nightmares woke her. I told her Mom and Dad loved us, that everything would be okay, even though I wasn't sure I believed it. On the 7th day, Gerald came to us with that suitcase. I've done what I can, he said. But I simply cannot afford to keep you. With the debt your parents left, there's nothing. You'll need to go. Go where? I asked. That's not my concern. I've called social services. They should arrive in a few hours. Until then. He looked at the door. I understood. He wanted us gone before social services came. Wanted to avoid the questions, the paperwork, the responsibility. Please, I begged. We'll be good. We won't eat much. We can work, help out. Rowan. His voice was final. Your parents left nothing. You're worthless orphans now. Get out of my house. And that's how we ended up on the sidewalk in the rain, watching the door close on our childhood. We walked 3 miles to the police station. I didn't know where else to go. A kind officer called social services, gave us sandwiches, let Zara cry into his shoulder. We never saw Gerald again. Not for 15 years. Foster care is a lottery. Some families are angels. Some are nightmares. Most are just tired people trying their best with not enough resources. Our first placement was with the Kowalskis, an older couple who'd raised 5 kids of their own. They were kind but overwhelmed. Zara and I shared a small room with 2 other foster kids. Mrs. Kowalski cooked decent meals and made sure we did homework. Mr. Kowalski drove us to school in a van that smelled like wet dog. We stayed there 8 months before they retired from fostering. Too old, too exhausted. Our second placement was bad. The father drank. The mother screamed. I kept Zara in our room as much as possible, did extra chores to keep us invisible. We lasted 4 months before a social worker noticed bruises on another foster kid and removed all of us. Third placement was better. The Nguyen's actually cared. They had 3 biological kids and 4 foster kids and somehow made it work. Dinner was chaotic and loud, kids talking over each other, laughter, arguments about who got the last egg roll. It almost felt like family. But I couldn't relax. Couldn't trust it. I'd learned that anything good could vanish without warning. I started working as soon as I legally could. 14 years old, lying about my age to bag groceries at the corner store. I saved every penny in a locked box under my bed. What's the money for? Mrs. Nguyen asked once. Just in case, I said. She nodded like she understood. Maybe she did. Zara struggled more than me. Nightmares every night. Panic attacks at school. A therapist diagnosed PTSD and depression. The sessions helped, but trauma doesn't just disappear because you talk about it. I can't remember Dad's voice anymore, she told me one night, crying. I try and try, but it's gone. I remember, I promised. I'll remind you. When I was 16, I had a revelation. If I wanted to take care of Zara forever, I needed a real career. Not just grocery bagging. Something stable, something lucrative. I researched careers with scholarships. Fields where hard work mattered more than connections. I was good at math, had always been good at patterns and numbers. Accounting. Financial analysis. I could do that. I studied like my life depended on it. Because it did. I got straight A's. I joined every academic club. I wrote scholarship essays about resilience and family and surviving loss. I poured everything into becoming someone who could succeed. Senior year, I got accepted to SUNY Binghamton with a full scholarship. Business and accounting major. I'm so proud of you, Mrs. Nguyen said, crying at my graduation. Zara, now 13, hugged me hard. You're really going? Just to college. You'll stay here. I'll visit every weekend I can. I'll call every night. I held her face. And when you're 18, we'll get an apartment together. I promise. I kept that promise. All of them. College was brutal. I took maximum credits, worked 2 jobs, sent money to Zara every month for things the Nguyen's couldn't afford. New clothes, field trip fees, a phone so we could talk. I slept 4 hours a night and survived on caffeine and determination. Zara thrived despite everything. She was brilliant, photographic memory, straight A's, gifted program. She got into computer science, coding her own programs by 14. The Nguyen's got her a used laptop, and she taught herself Python, JavaScript, everything. I'm going to make games, she told me. Or apps. Something cool. You will, I said. You're going to be amazing. When I graduated college at 21 with a 4.0 and job offers from 3 accounting firms, I cried. Not from joy, from relief. I'd done it. I'd made it. I could take care of us now. I chose Monroe & Associates, a mid-size firm in Manhattan. Good salary, room for advancement. I got a tiny apartment in Queens, 1 bedroom, barely affordable, but it was ours. When Zara turned 18, she moved in the same day she aged out of foster care. We made it, she whispered that first night, lying on our second-hand couch in our shabby apartment. We made it, I agreed. She got a full scholarship to NYU for computer science. I worked 60-hour weeks to cover what the scholarship didn't. We ate ramen and took the subway everywhere and slowly, carefully, built a life. But we never forgot. One day, Zara would say, we should find out what really happened. With Mom and Dad's company. The debt story never made sense. One day, I'd agree. That day came when I was 27. The accounting conference was boring. 3 days of tax code updates and networking events where people traded business cards like currency. I was there because my firm required it, not because I wanted to be. Then I saw him across the conference hall. A man in his 60s with silver hair and kind eyes, studying a presentation board. Something about him was familiar. I walked closer and read his name tag, Howard Brennan, CFO, Brennan Consulting. Brennan. Mom's maiden name. Excuse me, I said. Are you related to Caroline Brennan? Who married Mitchell Hartley? He turned, squinting at my name tag. Then his face went white. Rowan? Rowan Hartley. Yes. My God. He grabbed my arm. I always wondered what happened to you. And your sister, Zara, right? I haven't seen you since you were children. Your parents would be so proud. Look at you, attending conferences, working in accounting. You knew my parents? Knew them? I was your father's business partner. We built Hartley Tech together. I bought out my share when, he stopped. When they died. I'm so sorry about that. The accident was devastating. Business partner. A memory surfaced, a man at our house sometimes, laughing with Dad over takeout Chinese while they worked late. Mr. Brennan, can I ask you something? Please call me Howard. My Uncle Gerald said my parents died in debt, that the company was failing, that they owed $3 million. Howard's face shifted through confusion, then understanding, then anger. That's not true. Not even remotely true. Your father and I built that company into something worth. He paused, lowered his voice. Rowan, where have you been for 15 years? What happened to you and your sister? So I told him. The funeral. The will reading. Gerald throwing us out. Foster care. Working our way through college. Building lives from nothing. Howard's face grew darker with every word. That bastard, he said finally. I knew something was wrong. Gerald wouldn't let anyone near you kids. He said you'd gone to live with relatives on your mother's side, that it was all arranged. We tried to help, I tried, your parents' friends tried, but he blocked everything. Said you needed privacy to grieve. But the debt. There was no debt. Your father was worth millions. The company was thriving. We had major contracts, investors lining up. When they died, your father's half of the company was worth at least 20 million, probably more. Plus their house, investments, savings. There were no debts, Rowan. None. The conference hall seemed to tilt. 20 million? Minimum. Probably closer to 30 with everything else. They'd set up a trust for you and Zara. I remember your dad talking about it, making sure you'd be taken care of if anything happened. Howard's hands were shaking. Where did the money go? Who was managing the estate? Gerald. He said he was settling debts. He stole it. Howard's voice was flat with certainty. He stole your inheritance. All of it. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't process. $30 million. While Zara and I had eaten food bank donations and shared donated winter coats. I need to go, I said. Wait. Howard pulled out his business card. Take this. I have documents from back then, partnership agreements, financial statements. If you want to investigate, I'll help however I can. Your parents were my best friends, Rowan. They deserved better. So did you. I took the card with numb fingers. That night, I sat in our apartment staring at my phone, Howard's words echoing. Worth millions. Trust for you and Zara. No debts. Zara came home from class and knew immediately something was wrong. Ro? What happened? I told her everything. She sat down slowly, face pale. He stole from us? Gerald stole from us? While we were children. We don't know for sure. We need to investigate. Properly. Legally. How much? Her voice cracked. How much did he steal? Howard thinks maybe 30 million. Maybe more. Zara made a sound between a laugh and a sob. We lived on ramen and I worked at McDonald's at 16 to buy school supplies. We shared one winter coat. And we had $30 million. We need a lawyer. A private investigator. We need to be smart about this. No. Zara's eyes were fierce. We need to destroy him. He threw us onto the street, Rowan. He called us worthless. He stole our parents' legacy and left us to starve. We need to make him pay. We will. But we do it right. We do it legally. We gather evidence so overwhelming that he can't talk his way out. Okay. She took a shaky breath. Okay. Where do we start? I looked at Howard's card. We start by finding out the truth. The next morning, I called in sick to work, first time in 6 years. Zara skipped her classes. We sat at our kitchen table with laptops and determination. First step, I said. We need a lawyer who specializes in estate fraud. Someone good. Zara was already typing. Looking. There's a firm in Manhattan, Gonzalez and Park. They handle complex estate litigation. Good reviews. High success rate. We called. Got an appointment for that afternoon. Elena Gonzalez was 50, sharp-eyed, and direct. We sat in her office, glass and steel overlooking Madison Avenue, and told her everything. She took notes, asked pointed questions, didn't waste our time with sympathy. Here's what I need to know, she said finally. Can you afford my services? Estate fraud cases are complex. This could take months, cost upward of $50,000 in legal fees and investigator costs. I swallowed hard. How much retainer? 10,000. That was more than our combined savings. Almost twice what we had. Can we do payment plans? I don't typically. She stopped, studying us. You know what? Yes. 5,000 now, the rest in installments. But I need to be honest with you, if your uncle really did steal millions, we're talking about someone with resources. Deep pockets. He'll hire the best defense money can buy. We're not afraid of a fight, Zara said quietly. Elena smiled. Good. Because this will be one. We wrote the check that depleted our savings and walked out with a lawyer. Next, a private investigator. Elena recommended Trevor Okafor, a former FBI agent who specialized in financial crimes. He cost $200 an hour, which made me nauseous, but Elena said he was worth it. I need you to find everything, I told him at our first meeting. My parents' original will. Trust documents. Evidence of what my uncle did with the estate. All of it. Start at the beginning, Trevor said. Tell me the exact timeline. So we did. Parents' death. Lawyers' will reading. Gerald's claims of debt. Being thrown out. 15 years of nothing. You said the lawyer was named Bernard Whitmore? Trevor asked. Yes. I'll start there. Lawyers have to keep records. If he helped your uncle commit fraud, there'll be a trail. Trevor leaned back. But I have to warn you, if this went down the way you think, your uncle didn't act alone. He needed Whitmore to forge documents. Probably needed bank cooperation to access accounts. Maybe a fake financial advisor to create debt records. This could be a conspiracy involving multiple people. How long will it take to find out? Zora asked. Give me 2 weeks for initial discovery. Then we'll know what we're dealing with. Those 2 weeks were the longest of my life. I went back to work but couldn't focus. Zara attended classes but kept checking her phone obsessively. Finally, Trevor called. You need to come to my office. Both of you. And bring your lawyer. We met that evening. Trevor had a conference table covered in documents. I found your parents' original will, he said without preamble. The real one. Your mother's estate planning attorney kept copies. Howard Brennan helped me track him down. He pushed papers toward us. I read, hands shaking. We, Mitchell Hartley and Caroline Brennan Hartley, being of sound mind. Leave our entire estate to our children, Rowan Mitchell Hartley and Zara Caroline Hartley, to be held in trust until they reach age 25. Appoint Gerald Brennan as temporary trustee with the requirement that he provide for the children's care, education, and well-being using trust funds as needed. Estate valued at approximately $32 million including business assets, property, investments, and liquid capital. $32 million. In trust. For us. It's real, Zara whispered. Very real, Trevor said. And here's where it gets interesting. Bernard Whitmore isn't just shady, he's been investigated twice for ethics violations. Once for forging signatures on estate documents. He was never charged, but the complaints are in the record. Elena flipped through documents. So Whitmore forged a fake while claiming the estate was underwater with debt. Exactly. And then Gerald, a supposed debt settler, claimed everything. The house, the business, the investments. All of it. Trevor pulled up a financial spreadsheet. I've been tracking the money. Here's what Gerald did with your inheritance. The numbers were staggering. Parents' house, sold 3 months after their death for $2.8 million. Gerald kept the money. Hartley Tech, sold to a competitor for $24 million. Gerald kept the money. Investment accounts, liquidated for $4.1 million. Gerald kept it all. Life insurance, $2.2 million. Gerald's. Total stolen, $33.1 million. What did he do with it? I asked, my voice hollow. Trevor pulled up more documents. He spent it. All of it. On himself and his family. The spreadsheet showed 15 years of luxury. Mansion in Westchester, $4.5 million. Vacation home in the Hamptons, $2.8 million. Luxury cars, $800,000 across multiple vehicles. His children's private school tuition, $1.2 million total. His children's college tuition, $600,000. Jewelry for Francine, $400,000. Vacations, $300,000. Country club memberships, designer clothes, home renovations, art collection, it went on and on. He spent $33 million in 15 years? Zara's voice shook. Not quite. He also has about $5 million left in various accounts, including offshore holdings in the Cayman Islands to avoid taxes. Trevor tapped the screen. That's tax fraud, by the way. On top of everything else. Elena was making notes. This is good. This is very good. We have proof of the original will, proof of the fake will, and a money trail showing theft. We can file both criminal and civil suits. Wait. I held up my hand. If we file, Gerald will know immediately. He'll hire lawyers, start destroying evidence, maybe hide more money offshore. So what do you suggest? Elena asked. I looked at Zara. We talked about this, late at night when we couldn't sleep. We want to confront him publicly, I said. We want him exposed in front of everyone. In front of the community that respects him, the friends who think he's generous, the social circle he bought with our money. Public confrontation is risky, Elena warned. Legally speaking, it's better to. We don't care about better, Zara interrupted. He threw us out in the rain. He called us worthless. He stole our parents' legacy and used it to buy mansions while we ate donated food. We want him humiliated the way he humiliated us. Trevor grinned. I like these kids. So what's the plan? I pulled out my laptop. According to his social media, Gerald hosts an annual charity gala. Raises money for underprivileged youth. The irony was sickening. It's in 3 weeks. Held at his mansion, our parents' stolen money bought that mansion. Everyone who's anyone in Westchester society will be there. You want to expose him at his own charity event? Elena's eyes widened. That's bold. That's perfect, I said. We file the lawsuit 3 days before. Serve him with papers. But we keep it quiet, minimal publicity. Make him think he can lawyer his way out privately, that his reputation is safe. Meanwhile, Zara continued, you get me an invitation as a young professional. I'll use my fake name from freelancing, Zara Chambers. He won't recognize me. I'm 23 now, not 8. And Rowan can get an invitation through his accounting firm. They do business with Gerald's investment company. Then we show up, I finished. We let him give his speech about helping orphans and raising money for underprivileged kids. We let everyone applaud. And then we reveal exactly what he did to 2 actual orphans. With evidence. In front of everyone. And we'll have police there, Trevor added. Ready to arrest him on the spot. Criminal charges for fraud, embezzlement, forgery. Maybe child endangerment since he threw you out as minors. Elena was quiet for a long moment. Then she smiled. I'll file the paperwork. Trevor, coordinate with police. Kids, get those invitations. Let's destroy this man. Getting invitations was easier than expected. My firm did enough business with Gerald's company that I rated an invite. Zara's coding portfolio under her fake name was impressive enough that she got invited as a young tech professional. We spent 3 weeks preparing. Elena filed the lawsuit on a Wednesday, claiming fraud, embezzlement, breach of fiduciary duty, and about 10 other charges. She also filed criminal complaints with the DA's office, backed by Trevor's investigation. Gerald was served with papers Thursday morning at his office. Trevor had someone watching to see his reaction. He went pale, Trevor reported. Called his lawyer immediately. Spent 2 hours behind closed doors. But here's the thing, he's not panicking. He thinks he can fight this quietly, settle maybe, keep it out of the news. Perfect, I said. Let him think that. Saturday evening, the night of the gala, Zara and I got ready in our apartment. She wore a cocktail dress we'd rented, black, elegant, nothing like the donated clothes she'd worn growing up. Her hair was professionally styled. She looked grown up, confident. Nothing like the terrified 8-year-old Gerald had thrown out. I wore a suit, also rented. Navy blue, crisp. I looked successful. The kind of person who belonged at fancy galas. We looked at ourselves in the mirror. Ready, Zora asked. I've been ready for 15 years. The drive to Westchester felt surreal. We passed our old neighborhood. Saw the house where we'd grown up, now owned by some tech executive. Felt the familiar ache of stolen childhood. Then we turned onto a tree-lined street and pulled up to Gerald's mansion. It was obscene. 3 stories, stone facade, circular driveway with a fountain. Valets parking luxury cars. Women in designer gowns. Men in tuxedos. Our stolen money had bought all of it. That should have been Mom and Dad's, Zora whispered. It should have been ours, I corrected. And after tonight, it will be. We walked in separately. Zora first, flashing her invitation to the host, checking names. Me 5 minutes later, scanning the crowd for Gerald. The mansion's interior was even worse. Original artwork on the walls. Was that a Hockney? Probably $2 million right there. Crystal chandeliers. Marble floors. Waiters circulating with champagne and hors d'oeuvres. All of it paid for with money stolen from orphan children. I spotted him across the ballroom. Gerald Brennan, now 60, silver-haired and distinguished in his tuxedo. He was laughing with a congressman, playing the generous philanthropist. Beside him, Francine glittered in diamonds, our money. Their children, Slade now 29, Petra 31, Cleo 25, worked the crowd, all confident charm and expensive educations. Educations paid for with our college fund. I made my way toward him slowly, accepting champagne I didn't drink, making small talk with strangers. Gerald was giving a speech. Thank you all for coming, he said from a small stage, microphone in hand. Tonight, we're raising money for the Westchester Youth Foundation, providing opportunities for underprivileged children. As many of you know, I'm passionate about helping kids who don't have the advantages we take for granted. Every child deserves a chance. The crowd applauded. I wanted to vomit. I know what it's like to see children struggle, Gerald continued. Family tragedy taught me that. My sister and brother-in-law died 15 years ago, leaving 2 young children. Though I couldn't take them in myself, he paused for effect. I've never forgotten them. I hope they found good homes. Found opportunities. That's why this cause matters so much to me. More applause. People were actually moved by his lies. He stepped down from the stage, accepting congratulations and praise. That's when he saw me. I'd positioned myself directly in his sightline. Waited for his eyes to pass over me. Watched the moment of recognition. His face went white. The champagne glass in his hand trembled. Rowan, he whispered. Then louder, Rowan Hartley? The crowd around him quieted, sensing something. I walked forward. Zora emerged from the other side of the room, moving toward us. Hello, Uncle Gerald, I said clearly. It's been a long time. What are you doing here? Attending your charity gala. The one where you raise money for underprivileged children. I gestured around at the opulent mansion. Lovely house, by the way. Must have cost millions. His mouth opened and closed. Francine appeared at his side, her face a mask of confusion and growing alarm. Zora reached us, standing at my shoulder. Hi, Uncle Gerald. Remember me? Zara? I was 8 when you threw us out. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. People were staring now, sensing drama. Gerald tried to recover. My dear niece and nephew. I haven't seen you since you were children. This is wonderful. Since you threw us onto the street after our parents' funeral? I said clearly. Since you told us we were worthless orphans and slammed the door in our faces? The room went completely silent. That's not, it was complicated, your parents died in debt. Our parents died worth $32 million, Zora said, her voice carrying. And you stole it. All of it. Gasps. Shocked whispers. People pulling out phones. That's slander. Gerald's face flushed red. I don't know what they've told you, but... We filed a lawsuit against you 3 days ago, I said calmly. For fraud, embezzlement, and theft. Along with criminal complaints. Would you like me to explain the details to your guests? Or should I let our lawyer do it? Elena Gonzalez stepped forward from the crowd, legal folder in hand. Trevor Okafor beside her. Ladies and gentlemen, Elena announced. "My name is Elena Gonzalez. I represent Rowan and Zara Hartley in a lawsuit against Gerald Brennan for the theft of their $50 million inheritance." The ballroom erupted. Shouted questions, shocked exclamations, the buzz of hundreds of voices. Gerald held up his hands. "This is absurd. These children." "We're not children anymore," I cut him off. "I'm 27. Zara's 23. And we've spent the last month investigating exactly what you did with our parents' estate. Your parents died in debt." Gerald insisted. "I was settling their obligations. I saved what I could, but—" "Show them," Zara said to Trevor. Trevor had set up a projector. An image appeared on the white wall behind Gerald, a document. "This is the real will," Trevor announced. "Mitchell and Caroline Hartley's actual will, drafted by their estate attorney, filed with the county. It leaves their entire $32 million estate to their children, Rowan and Zara, to be held in trust until age 25. Gerald Brennan was appointed temporary trustee, with the explicit requirement that he care for the children using trust funds." Another document appeared. "This is the fake will presented by Bernard Whitmore, Esquire, at the reading after their death. It claims the estate was $3 million in debt. We've confirmed Whitmore has been investigated twice for document forgery." The crowd murmured. Gerald's face was the color of old paper. "This is outrageous. You can't just project stolen documents." "They're not stolen. They're court records." "They're not stolen. They're court records," Elena said firmly. "Public information. Should I continue?" Another image appeared, a financial spreadsheet. "This shows where the $32 million went," Trevor continued. "Gerald sold the Hartleys' house 3 months after their death. $2.8 million. Sold Hartley Tech for $24 million. Liquidated investments for $4.1 million. Collected life insurance for $2.2 million. Total, $33.1 million. The numbers hung in the air, damning. And what did he do with money meant for orphan children? Trevor's voice hardened. He bought this mansion for $4.5 million. A Hamptons beach house for $2.8 million. Luxury cars totaling $800,000. Private school and college tuition for his own children, $1.8 million combined. More images flashed, receipts, bank statements, property records. Each one a nail in Gerald's coffin. Jewelry for his wife, $400,000. Vacations, $300,000. Country club memberships, designer clothes, art collection, the list goes on. While Rowan and Zara Hartley lived in foster care. A photo appeared on the screen. Me and Zara, ages 12 and 8, taken by social services the day Gerald threw us out. We looked terrified, holding that single suitcase, eyes red from crying. The crowd gasped. Some women covered their mouths. "This is what Gerald Brennan did to his orphan niece and nephew after stealing their inheritance," I said quietly. "He threw us onto the street in the rain. Told us we were worthless. Left us to survive however we could." Zara's voice was steady, but her hands shook. "I was 8 years old. I didn't understand why Uncle Gerald was so angry with us. Why he wouldn't let us stay in our own home. Why he said our parents left nothing when they'd always told us they'd take care of us." "Because he was stealing from you," Elena stated. "Systematically, deliberately, with forged documents and bribed officials." "This is lies," Gerald shouted, but his voice cracked. "Pure fabrication. My lawyer will." "Your lawyer Bernard Whitmore?" Trevor smiled coldly. "He's been arrested. Charged with conspiracy to commit fraud and forgery. He's talking, Mr. Brennan. Told us everything to get a plea deal." Gerald's face went from white to gray. Howard Brennan pushed through the crowd, anger etched in every line of his face. "I knew something was wrong, Gerald. Mitchell was my partner. My best friend. He was worth millions, and you said he died broke? I tried to help those kids, and you blocked me at every turn. You told me they'd gone to family in California. You lied to everyone. Howard, you don't understand the complexities. I understand you're a thief and a liar who exploited orphan children." Howard's voice rang out. "You should be ashamed. Voices rose in agreement. The crowd's mood had shifted from shocked to angry. Gerald's lawyer, a slick man in an expensive suit who'd been hovering nearby, stepped forward. My client declines to comment further. This is a matter for the courts. Oh, it's definitely going to court, Elena agreed. Criminal court. We have warrants. 2 police officers entered the ballroom. The crowd parted for them like water. Gerald Brennan, one officer said. You're under arrest for fraud, embezzlement, forgery, and child endangerment. Child endangerment? Francine shrieked. That's absurd. You threw 2 minor children out of their legal residence with no support, no guardianship arranged, nothing, the officer said flatly. In New York, that's criminal child endangerment. As they read Gerald his rights, Francine tried to intervene. This is a mistake. We'll sue. We'll. Francine Brennan, the second officer said. You're also under arrest as an accomplice. You signed papers acknowledging the trust fund. You benefited from stolen money. You're complicit. The officers cuffed them both. The crowd watched in stunned silence as Gerald and Francine, moments ago the celebrated hosts, were led away in handcuffs. Slade, Petra, and Cleo stood frozen, their faces masks of shock. Your whole life was funded by stolen money, I said to them, not without some pity. Every private school tuition payment, every college semester, every vacation. Our money. Our parents' money. We didn't know, Cleo whispered, tears streaming down her face. We didn't know. Maybe not, Zara said. But you watched him throw us out. You took our rooms, our clothes, our home. And you never once asked if it was right. Petra opened her mouth, closed it, then fled the room. Slade followed. Cleo stood there crying until someone led her away. The crowd slowly began to disperse, guests leaving in clusters, phones out, already spreading the story. But Howard stayed. And Trevor. And Elena. And a few others, people who'd known our parents, who'd wondered what happened to us, who were moved by the truth finally coming out. I'm sorry, Howard said, his voice thick with emotion. I should have fought harder to find you. To help you. You didn't know, I said. Gerald blocked everyone. It's not your fault. But I knew something was wrong. I should have investigated. Should have, he stopped, wiping his eyes. Your father was like a brother to me. And I failed his children. You're helping us now, Zara said gently. That's what matters. A woman approached hesitantly, older, gray-haired, wringing her hands. Rowan? Zara? I don't know if you remember me. I was your family's housekeeper. My name is Ruth Chun. I stared at her. A memory surfaced, a kind woman who made us snacks after school, who braided Zara's hair, who told us stories while folding laundry. Ruth. Zara ran forward and hugged her. I remember you. Ruth was crying. I knew something was wrong. The day Mr. Gerald threw you out, I wasn't there. He'd sent me home early, said the family needed privacy. But I knew. And I kept things. Documents I found, papers I thought might matter someday. I prayed you'd come back. You kept evidence? Elena leaned forward, interested. Boxes of it. In my storage unit. I didn't know what else to do. Couldn't go to police, no proof of wrongdoing, just a feeling. But I kept everything just in case. Can we see it? Trevor asked. Of course. It's yours. It was always meant for you. Ruth's storage unit was a treasure trove. Original trust documents. Financial statements showing the real worth of our parents' estate. Notes in our mother's handwriting about the trust setup. Photographs of happy times before the tragedy. And security footage. Mr. Gerald had cameras at the house, Ruth explained, pulling out old hard drives. He thought he erased this. But I'd made copies. The day he threw you out, I have it all. Trevor plugged in the drive. The video played on his laptop. There we were, 12 and 8 years old, standing at the door with our single suitcase. Gerald's voice, clear and cold. Your parents left nothing. You're worthless orphans now. Get out of my house. My 12-year-old voice, small and frightened. Where are we supposed to go? That's not my problem. The door slamming. Rain starting to fall. Two children standing alone, not knowing what to do, where to turn. Zara was sobbing now, watching our younger selves. I held her as the video played, feeling the old pain alongside the vindication. This is damning evidence, Elena said quietly. In criminal court, this will destroy any defense he tries to mount. Good, I said. I want him destroyed. The trial was scheduled for 3 months later, but it felt both too soon and not soon enough. During that time, the media had a field day. Wealthy philanthropist arrested for stealing orphans' inheritance. Charity gala turns into fraud exposure. Brother steals $33 million from dead sister's children. Public opinion was unanimously on our side. Gerald and Francine's bail was set at $2 million. They made it barely, by mortgaging the mansion. But they were pariahs now. Friends abandoned them. The country club revoked their membership. Francine's charity boards asked her to resign. Their children faced their own reckoning. The law required them to return benefits received from stolen funds. Slade had to repay his private school and college tuition, $600,000. Petra the same. Cleo, the youngest, owed $400,000. We don't have that kind of money, Slade protested in a court filing. We can't repay what we didn't know was stolen. You benefited, Elena responded in court. The law is clear. Restitution is required. They'd have to sell everything, cars, jewelry, property they'd inherited. Their comfortable lives were over. The criminal trial finally came. The courtroom was packed. Media, curious onlookers, people who'd known our parents. Zara and I sat in the front row with Elena. Across the aisle, Gerald and Francine sat with their defense attorney, a high-priced lawyer named Carrington who specialized in white-collar crime. The prosecution presented our case methodically. The original will versus the forged one. Financial forensics showing every dollar stolen and spent. Whitmore's testimony about how Gerald had paid him to create false documents. Mr. Brennan approached me, Whitmore testified, clearly hoping his cooperation would reduce his own sentence. He said his sister and brother-in-law had died with substantial assets. He wanted them. He asked if I could make documents that would give him legal claim to the estate. And you did this? The prosecutor asked. Yes. I created a false will claiming debts that didn't exist. Forged signatures. Filed paperwork making it look legitimate. Why? He paid me $200,000. The courtroom murmured. Gerald had paid for the theft with money he'd stolen. Howard testified about the company's value, about Mitchell and Caroline's financial success. There was no debt. None. Mitchell was planning to expand the business. He had contracts worth millions coming in. Gerald knew this. He'd asked about the business at family gatherings, asked about finances. He knew exactly what he was stealing. The forensic accountant testified about the money trail. Every luxury purchase displayed on screens. The mansion. The cars. The jewelry. The vacations. Mr. Brennan spent $28 million of the stolen inheritance in 15 years. He kept approximately $5 million in various accounts, including offshore holdings to avoid taxes. The prosecutor entered the offshore account records into evidence. Tax fraud added to the charges. Then came the most powerful testimony. Ruth Chin played the security footage. The entire courtroom watched as Gerald threw us out. Watched 12-year-old me beg for help. Watched him slam the door on crying children. Jurors wiped their eyes. The judge looked grim. Then I testified. Tell the jury what happened after Mr. Brennan closed that door, the prosecutor prompted. I told them everything. Walking to the police station in the rain. Foster care placements, some good, some terrible. Working at 14 to save money. My guilt at not protecting Zara better. The hunger, the fear, the constant instability. While you were experiencing this, Mr. Brennan was living in a mansion bought with your inheritance? Yes. While we ate donated food, he ate at country clubs. While we shared used winter coats, he bought luxury cars. While Zara had nightmares about being abandoned, he vacationed in the Hamptons. Zara testified next, her voice quiet but steady. She described being 8 years old and not understanding why Uncle Gerald was so cruel. Described foster care, the abandonment trauma, the years of therapy. The money matters, she said, because it proves our parents did love us, did provide for us. Uncle Gerald told us we were worthless, that our parents left nothing. For 15 years, part of me believed that. Believed maybe we weren't worth protecting. Now I know the truth. Our parents left us everything. Uncle Gerald stole it. Gerald's defense was pathetic. Carrington tried to argue that Gerald had misunderstood the legal situation, that he genuinely believed the debt was real. The prosecutor destroyed this in cross-examination. Mr. Brennan, you're a financial professional, correct? You understand assets and debts. Yes. Did you see any actual creditor claims? Any collection notices? Any debt documentation? Whitmore showed me. Documents you paid him $200,000 to create. Did you, at any point, verify these supposed debts with independent sources? Silence. Did you, at any point, use the trust fund money to provide for the children as required by the will? I couldn't afford. You spent $28 million on yourself. You could afford to feed 2 children. Gerald had no answer. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Fraud. Embezzlement. Forgery. Child endangerment. Tax evasion. Francine was convicted as an accomplice. She'd signed documents, enjoyed the lifestyle, made no effort to help us. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. Gerald, 15 years in prison. Francine, 10 years. Whitmore, 8 years. The courtroom applauded when the sentences were read. The judge had to call for order. Mr. Brennan, the judge said, looking at Gerald with open disgust, you exploited orphan children for personal gain. You threw them onto the street to steal their inheritance. You spent 15 years living in luxury while they struggled to survive. I find your actions morally reprehensible and your complete lack of remorse disturbing. This court sentences you to the maximum allowed by law. Gerald was led away in handcuffs. He didn't look at us. Didn't apologize. Remained unrepentant to the end. The civil case was simpler. The judge ordered full restitution, $33.1 million original theft plus $52 million in interest, damages, and punitive penalties. Total, $85.1 million. Every asset was seized. The mansion, the vacation house, the cars, the art, the jewelry. All sold at auction. We stood in the mansion before it was sold, our childhood home that Gerald had claimed, filled with furniture bought with our money. Want to keep it? Zora asked. I looked around. Beautiful house. Tainted memories. No. Let's sell it and do something good with the money. Like what? Help kids like us. We donated the mansion to be converted into a group home for foster children. A place where kids would be safe, loved, provided for. The rest of the money, after legal fees and expenses, came to us. $82 million total, split equally. $41 million each. We were millionaires. The same way our parents had intended 15 years ago. The money was overwhelming at first. We'd spent so long with nothing that having everything felt surreal. What do we do with it? Zora asked, staring at bank statements. First, we make sure we never have to worry again. Then we help others. We hired financial advisors, honest ones, extensively vetted. We invested conservatively, set up trusts, made sure we'd always be secure. Then we established the Mitchell and Caroline Hartley Foundation for orphan children. Scholarships for foster kids going to college. Housing assistance for those aging out of the system. Legal aid for children dealing with estate issues. Therapy services for trauma survivors. Everything we'd wished we'd had. 5 years after the trial, the foundation had helped over 3,000 children. Provided $12 million in scholarships. Funded housing for 200 kids. Paid for therapy for 500. We held an annual gala, not for wealth or status, but to celebrate the kids we'd helped and raise more money for the cause. At the 5-year gala, I gave a speech. 15 years ago, my sister and I thought we'd lost everything. Our parents died. Our uncle threw us out. We had nothing but each other and the belief that our parents must have loved us, even though we couldn't prove it anymore. I looked at Zara, standing beside me. She squeezed my hand. We spent 15 years surviving, building lives from nothing, making something of ourselves despite impossible odds. And then we discovered the truth: our parents had left us everything. Someone had just stolen it. The room was quiet, everyone listening. The money matters. I won't pretend it doesn't. Financial security is powerful. But you know what matters more? Proof that our parents loved us. That they'd planned for us. That they'd wanted us protected. Uncle Gerald stole our inheritance, but he couldn't steal that truth. Zara stepped forward. This foundation exists because we know what it's like to be orphan children with no resources. We know the fear, the hunger, the instability. We know what it's like when people who should protect you, hurt you instead. And we know what difference it makes when someone steps up to help. We'd invited Ruth Chun to the gala. She sat in the front row, crying happy tears. We'd invited Howard Brennan, who become like family, an honorary uncle who actually deserved the title. We'd invited Mrs. Nguyen, who'd fostered us for 3 years and given us stability when we needed it most. We'd invited the social worker who'd found us on that police station bench 15 years ago and made sure we were placed somewhere safe. All the people who'd helped 2 scared kids survive. Today, I concluded, we've helped 3,000 children. Next year, we hope to help 5,000. Every scholarship, every apartment, every therapy session, we're trying to make sure no child goes through what we did. That's what our parents would have wanted. That's how we honor their legacy. The applause was thunderous. Afterward, people approached us with stories. Foster kids who'd gotten scholarships and were now in college. Parents who'd adopted children we'd helped. Social workers who'd used our legal aid services. The impact was real. Measurable. Good. Gerald, meanwhile, was in prison. We'd heard he'd tried to appeal his sentence, denied. Tried to claim persecution, denied. He'd serve every day of his 15 years. Francine got out after 8 years for good behavior. We heard she was living in a small apartment in Queens, working as a bookkeeper. All her society friends had abandoned her. Her children barely spoke to her. Speaking of the children, they'd reached out several times over the years. Cleo came to us first, 3 years after the trial. She'd paid back her debt, working 2 jobs to do it. She was thin, tired, but determined. I can't apologize enough, she said. I was 10 when you were thrown out. I knew it was wrong, but I was too scared to say anything. Then I benefited from what he did. I'm so sorry. Zara and I exchanged glances. You were a child too, Zara said gently. He manipulated all of us. Is there any chance we could be family again? Real family. We didn't become close. Too much history, too much pain. But we reached a peaceful place. Cleo came to foundation events sometimes. Sent cards on holidays. It was something. Slade and Petra never apologized. Never acknowledged wrongdoing. We heard Petra had moved to California, started over with a new name. Slade worked in finance, barely scraping by after paying back the stolen money. I felt no satisfaction in their struggles. No joy in their diminished circumstances. Just a tired sort of relief that justice had been served. 10 years after the trial, Zara and I both got married. I married a teacher named Kai who thought my foundation work was more important than my bank account. Zara married a software developer named Riley who made her laugh and supported her through the occasional nightmare. We had children. Taught them about resilience and justice and fighting for what's right. Showed them photos of their grandparents, Mitchell and Caroline Hartley, who'd built something good and left it protected. Your grandparents loved you, I told my daughter Luna when she was old enough to understand. Even though they never met you, they made sure you'd be taken care of. That's what real love looks like. Every year on the anniversary of our parents' death, Zara and I visited their graves. Told them about the foundation, about the children we'd helped, about the lives we'd built. We did it, I said one year, standing at their gravestone. We survived. We thrived. We made sure other kids wouldn't suffer the way we did. Zara laid flowers. Uncle Gerald tried to erase us. Tried to make us worthless. But we proved him wrong. We built everything ourselves. The inheritance just proved we were right to keep fighting. We stood there in silence, 2 survivors who become victors, honoring the parents who'd loved us enough to protect us even after death. Gerald died in prison in year 12 of his sentence. Heart attack. We heard about it through our lawyers. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no grief. Just emptiness where anger used to be. Is it bad that I don't care? Zara asked when we got the news. No. He stopped mattering to us a long time ago. What mattered was the foundation. The kids we helped. The families we supported. The legacy we'd built from the ashes of stolen childhood. 15 years of survival had taught us resilience. 5 years of justice had taught us that truth matters. 10 years of building had taught us that the best revenge is a life well lived. We'd been thrown out with nothing. Told we were worthless. Left to survive or fail on our own. We'd survived. We'd thrived. We'd won. Not because of the inheritance, though that helped. But because we'd refused to let Gerald's cruelty define us. We'd built our worth ourselves, one difficult day at a time. And now, standing in front of 3,000 children we'd helped, looking at Zara's proud smile and thinking about our own children at home, I understood something profound. Gerald could steal money, but he couldn't steal who we were. Couldn't steal our resilience or our bond or our determination to make something good from tragedy. We'd won because we'd survived. We'd won because we'd fought back. But most of all, we'd won because we'd chosen to help others instead of becoming bitter. That was our real revenge, proving that orphan children he'd called worthless were worth more than he'd ever be. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe for more intriguing tales.